Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. Hey, how are ya? We're a month into 23. How you feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. As I said, I'm finishing up the 4th season of For All Mankind, and it was such a tough end to the season with double updates and inserts and crazy last minute things as usual. I'd have to say I'm really thankful to be done this work. I share that, I'm sure, with everyone on the show, and production designer Seth Reed and his team are off to Bulgaria to film for 3 weeks. So I would have to say I'm glad that I didn't have to go. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sure that team over there is going to do a great job, and I got plenty to do here to wrap it up. I'm in this end of show fog, which is the only way I know how to describe it, where when you've been on a project that is so intense and so demanding of your brain power, even on weekends, it's always sort of there and looming, that when you're done with something, the decompression mode, which I'm sure is with any job, but this decompression of, I should be doing something, I should be thinking about something, something's going to come up. Like, that's what's going through my head. Like, I can't relax, and I just think the phone's gonna, just ring at any second, and there'd be last minute demands of what? I don't know. We're not even shooting. But it's like this small transition phase of going back into my real world of my family and friends and trying to catch up on life that is just foggy. It's like I just need to do nothing for a couple days and make my list of personal things that I need to accomplish and get all that done. So that's what I'm in. I'm in a little fog right now. And while I'm in that, I got a puppy because, my plate is not full enough. So yeah, boys are very happy to get a little doggy, and he's a cutie pie, and I'm very thankful for that. He's a good boy. So maybe that's why I'm in a little fog. I'm going on dog walks now and cleaning up dog shit. Maybe I went from one thing to another, didn't I? Yeah. I have been diving into films and TV that I haven't been able to get to. So what's one up watching? Well, I watched The Menu with production designer Ethan Taubman and set decorator Gretchen Gasto. Such a different story than I thought it would be. I mean, I kind of thought there was some cannibalism going on in there. But a very different story. So I enjoyed that. I thought the design of it was very unique in all of the textures and the this massive floor design that comes into play, and being able to design a room that you basically shoot almost the whole movie in and keep it interesting in angles and such. So The Menu, I thought, was definitely, you should watch that. I really enjoyed Bullet Train. I thought that was going to be a throwaway, but I love Brad, so I had to watch it. The colors and the design, production designer David Schuleman and set decorator Elizabeth Keenan. I read an article in, was it Architectural Record, I think? No, I miss Architectural Record. Architectural Digest, about how they built maybe 3 trains and then just kept redressing them, and almost everything was custom made set deck wise. Really bright colors. They're in Tokyo, and beautiful uses of again, textures, especially in this bar cart cabin. I just thought it was interesting to watch, and again, a different kind of story, and I'll watch Brad do anything. So, what else? The Pale Blue Eye I watched with Christian Bale. It's on Netflix. Production designed by Stefania Kalia and set decorated by Jane Madden, who was my buyer on Impeachment. Go Jane. It was another interesting story about Edgar Allan Poe and like a crime committed, and I love Christian Bale, and it seemed very cold. I have to ask Jane about that. It seemed very cold, and I think because I was feeling at the timing of when she left me to do this film, it was like height of coming back to COVID, so I think everything's outside. A lot of scenes were probably pushed outside because of actors and COVID and all that. But there's snow. They filmed it, I think, outside of Pittsburgh. And interesting period piece. Watchable, I'd say. And beautifully decorated and designed. So, Pale Blue Eye on Netflix. I caught one episode of Cabinet of Curiosities, Guillermo del Toro's on Netflix. It's okay. It's not scary enough, I would say. Production designer Tamara Duval, though, really great job on the episodes that I saw. I think it was like Locker 54 or whatever it was, with Timothy Blake. I forget his name. Anyway, good enough. Not super scary, not super grotesque, but maybe that was just the one I watched. Grotesque, you want to talk about All Quiet on the Western Front, which is phenomenally designed. Like that is, Denise and I talk about it in this interview, but I think I cut it out because it was at the end. But she also agreed that just the design of this, and they had to build everything and all of these tunnels, and it's a pretty depressing movie. I don't really like war movies, but to decorate one of those is such a hard job, and I really give them a ton of credit. Production designer Christian M. Goldbeck and set decorator Ernestine Hipper. Bravo, man. Bravo. Just the period and the dirt and the mud, and wow. Just but again, not my cup of tea war movie, but I watched it because it's Oscar worthy. I think so. Other than that, really putting a lot of effort into my TikTok, which you'll probably look at it and be like, this is your effort? Okay. And social media, trying to get it there. If you want to leave any reviews on social media and or on the platform that you are listening to, thank you. Everyone seems to, everyone. I got some really good feedback on last week's episode of How to Read Production Schedules. So I'm glad that people are enjoying that. And I did put up a blog about it. I did do it. I put it all up there, and I put everything together. I know. It took me a lot. I don't know. It takes me a long time to do this shit, people, but I love it. And if you want to sign up for just a newsletter of upcoming episodes, you can do that at decoratingpagespodcast.com. And the blog is on there, and the YouTube channel, and the link to the shop, and as seen on. So it's all on there. I know I'm forgetting something. I'm really trying to plug myself this year because I got some tips from people who are like, you never mention your website. You never mention this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I just assume people know. I guess you don't know. I guess you don't know how to find me on Decorating Pages on Instagram and TikTok. I thought it was self-explanatory, people. But yeah. But I'm telling that my sister wife's TikToks they're blowing up. I have over like 150,000 views on there. Yeah, that's what I said. I said it. I have like 8,000 on like the ones that I really care about, but the sister wife ones are doing great. So yeah. On this episode, I speak with my friend, production designer Denise Pizzini. Denise is an award-winning production designer whose work includes designing this last season of Better Call Saul, HBO's Run, The Muppets, Community, Speechless, and more. And that's just for production designing. She also was a set decorator with films like The Italian Job, 13 Days, Life as a House, A Walk in the Clouds, and more. She won an ADG Award for Excellence in Production Design for the Muppets, which she was also nominated for. She has this last season of Better Call Saul nominated currently for the ADG Awards, which start voting on Wednesday, hint, hint. And you're going to hear how she redid this 6th season. You can check out her awesome portfolio at denisepizzini.com. She also has the Muppets Mayhem series coming up in May. So yeah, I hope you enjoy. About Saul and the Muppets. And then I wanted to ask you about the Women of ADG.
Okay.
Did you start that?
Well,
how did that start?
There was a women's committee years ago, and it just kind of, I guess, fell by the wayside, And then Nelson Coates, who is our president, committees are, kind of run by the president. So he asked me if I would chair a women's committee for the Art Directors Guild. So I did, and we Zoom. We used to have meetings in person once a month, but when the pandemic hit, we all kind of went on Zoom and kind of didn't do a whole lot. But like this past year, we had a great year. We sponsored a mixer at the Blending Lab for all the ADG committees, and which was super successful. And it kind of like, everybody was kind of like, this is what we've been missing. This is what we need, We do a charity every year for an organization called Together We Rise, and they provide duffel bags for foster children to pack all their belongings when they move from place to place, because all they usually have are trash bags.
Right.
So we ordered a bunch of bags, and then we decorate them with oil pastels and stuff. So if you go to our Instagram, you can see a bunch of I don't know if you follow us on Instagram.
I do. You have a great Instagram, and that's one of the awareness that I came upon it of like, oh, look at this, look what they're doing. And actually, I had the boys with me on that Saturday. I think it was a Saturday you guys did it, and I was gonna come over. But then we went too long, and I was like, they would have loved to have done. And I was talking to Ellen about it, because I was like, I was going to bring the boys to come paint. Like,
yeah, I had some people. I mean, we just kind of knocked it out. Because I thought, oh my gosh, we're never going to get this done. But we had a room. There's a community room at the farmers market you can just sign up for, and it's free. So it's this big room, and we reserved it. And then I got, Nona's empanadas, and we had a little lunch, and we all sat there and painted bags and then packed them all up. They give you a teddy bear and a toothbrush and a coloring book and stuff that you pack all that stuff and then take them to the organization. So we did that. We would do probably once a month postcards to swing states. So we would all meet up, and we would write political postcards, which we did a lot of that during the pandemic over Zoom. We would have like a Monday night, because that was before the presidential election. Mm-hmm. So we would have a Monday night, and we would all get on Zoom. And as we're talking, we would write postcards and kind of like, kind of see what's happening in the world, because women's rights are like, hanging by a thread. Yeah. I mean, I think the thread is broken, actually.
Well, saying women's rights is human rights isn't anything anymore, really. No one really gets that anymore.
Right. But, so this year we sent out probably over 1,000 postcards for the midterms. And what else? And now we're going to do in April, we're doing a fundraiser for the Pasadena Humane Society, where we all go walk. And I don't know if that's on our Instagram, but I can send you a link. So it's kind of, open to anybody if you want to come and walk your dog with, and you register for $40. So I think our team is already like in the number 1 spot or number 2 spot.
Fantastic. So, well, I have a dog now. Maybe I'll go.
I know. So yeah, and it's a great group. I mean, and our kind of our mission is to kind of create a community of women, because we're in a unique situation with what we do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of conversation about being the only woman in the van.
Yeah.
And how people, how sometimes men aren't aware of like sometimes women need to stop and use the restroom every once in a while.
Yeah.
And and using our voice when we're actually not listened to, that, and we have all these same stories. It would be like, yeah, I had this idea and I said it. And then so-and-so repeated it right back to me, like I had never said that.
Yes.
That happens all the time.
It does.
So it's been a really great group, and it's been really great to get to know, all these different women. We have every age and level of experience and years in the ADG, brand new people and people that have been there, for 30 years. And so it's good. It's good. It's, it's a really positive
It
group.
Is. I gotta say, like I said, I mean, finding it on Instagram, it was probably a suggestion or something. And to me, it's much more personal. And it seems like you guys are doing things. Like, I don't really see any of that in other social medias like ADG or SDSA. Like, I don't see those posts happening. And it's so nice, especially after the pandemic, to see people getting together and doing things and trying to make a little difference here and there. It's really positive. I really enjoy it.
We also have like a rate survey. So we have this spreadsheet. So if somebody's like, hey, like when Sony or Disney says we've never paid anybody that, we do a lot of comparisons. So we are upfront with our salaries. Most of us are. So you can go and see, well, this person did a Disney Plus and they were getting paid $500 more than they were offering me, which has happened.
Oh, yeah. We have a decorator sharing.
Oh, that's right.
We have that too. Is yours just for your group, or is it the whole ADG?
Ours is just for our group right now. We, there have been some surveys, but, and we're supposed to report our work.
Right.
On the ADG with our salaries, and a lot of people don't do. They don't report work, or they just say confidential. Which I don't know why it's a big secret.
I don't know either.
Because it just brings everybody up.
No.
If you can use it as a negotiation. And I don't know why the agents don't know.
Yeah. I mean, for you guys, I think that would be most important, because you're getting a chunk taken out. So you would think they would know.
Yeah.
But I think it's tremendously helpful. Before the decorators even started that, I had one like of my own, and then of friends who had told me, and I would share like with other people.
Right.
But now that we do it, and you don't even have to put the show down. You just put like Apple TV or whatever if you don't want to. But I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, unless I'm going to sit there and IMDb who did that show, who cares? I'm just looking at the rate. Like,
right. If they help somebody else, get a few more bucks, why not?
Well, there's that new rule this year in California where if you apply for a job, they have to tell you the most paid. Well, I don't know how they would do that with us.
Right.
It's not like a business where they're like, oh, yeah, marketing, you make between 70 and 80. Like with us, there's so many shows and so many different negotiations going on, and there's so many things that are off the books. You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, we'll give you a Saturday, but I can't tell anybody that.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know how that works with us.
I always try to fight for none of that under the table stuff. I always try to fight for that 5-day, because we're on flats for 60 or 70 hour week. So I always try to fight for that 5-day, I'll say I'll take less kit, but I want this for my 5-day.
Yeah. It took me a long time to learn to get the days because of the healthcare and everything and the hours or pension than other things, like, than the kid or this and that. Like, we'll add a week on at the end instead of 6 days. And I'm like, well, what are those hours? But I only get 8 on a Saturday. So I might as well take this. So, You got to think about that. You got to think long term. How did you get involved with Better Call Saul? How did you?
My agent.
Yeah.
Through my agent, which no one ever says.
Yeah. I've had a lot more. I don't know why I pay my agent, but it happens.
Right. I know. No, he, I don't know if they submitted me or if somebody if they called and asked, or they called and asked, but they were looking for, a designer to do this last season. I think they had somebody, and I think that they had to push because of the pandemic, and then that person was no longer available. And then they tried to get, I think it was Mark Freeborn who did Breaking Bad. And he was living in Canada. I actually spoke to him because, when I got the job, they were like, you should call Mark and everything. So, because, I mean, that's, all these people have been working together for like 15 years.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, oh, boy. I have, so I called Mark, and he didn't want to come because of the pandemic, and he wouldn't be able to get back to Canada. He lives in Canada.
Oh, yeah, then yeah.
So he was perfectly gracious about just kind of giving me all the insight and all how the show works, but so that's how I did it. I had a Zoom with them, and I was a huge fan of the show before. I thought, sixth season, am I going to be able? I mean, is it just repeating sets? And when I interviewed with them, they were like, it's a lot of new sets. We're wrapping up. We're tying up this whole trilogy, the Breaking Bad and El Camino and Better Call Saul, and I just liked them so much. They were just like super nice and
that's
just really great, so it just it was a very good match. So I was off to Albuquerque January 2nd, 2021.
2021, and then you were there for like 10 months?
14 months.
14 months. Ooh. Yeah. Why were you there 14 months?
Well, we were supposed to be there, I think it was like 10 months. And we only had one very short hiatus, and that was after Bob Odenkirk had his heart attack. It was kind of Labor Day and the rest of the week. That was the only hiatus we had the whole 14 months. We had Christmas off. We had, the regular 2 weeks at Christmas. And then we went back, and that was hard. It was hard to go back.
Yeah, it always is.
Another 2 months. But
you always check out just a little bit too much.
Yeah, right. I don't know why it went so long. There was so many, because of Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, their availability. So we had to move episode whatever they were in up to this date. We were just jumping around with different things like that. And then Bob's heart attack, and then the possible strike, and then COVID. And I think all those things just piled up. And we had some long episodes where we just had 15-day, 17-day episodes.
Yeah, it adds up. All of a sudden, it's we only shot 1.5 episodes in the last 8 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
What are we doing?
And it wasn't like there was nothing inefficient, and we had scripts. It wasn't like there were never any super last minute script changes or anything like that.
My God, it's a dream. It's a dream job.
Right. Yeah. It was, because the scripts are solid and they're so well written. When you read them, it's just the perfect. There's no there's no big interpretation of there's nuance, but they're very clear on what they want, and and so that's great. Although it took me a minute to understand that. I was like, oh, maybe they want to, and then I realized, no, they know what they want.
Was was there a discussion about the palette for the last season and how?
I wouldn't say a palette, because we go from we go from the past and we go to the present, and but I don't think there was a specific intentional palette. I mean, we did have, lots of discussions on Saul Goodman's house.
I bet.
The Saul Goodman that you never saw in Breaking Bad. You never saw his house, but this is, supposedly the house he lived in. And then we also did Germany, Nebraska, and Florida, all in Albuquerque. So, we adjusted,
that's hard.
To make that, to make all that work.
Having shot Germany, in Albuquerque, that's really hard to do.
I know. Yes, it is.
Germany. Yeah, Germany. Albuquerque for Germany. I think you win. You should win. You win that ADG award right now.
Right. I didn't even put that episode up. I mean, there was so much in that season that I couldn't even, I was like, how do you articulate, because you have to choose, as say with the Emmys, you have to choose a couple. I'm like, how do you even do that? I built tunnels.
I love the tunnel. I have your website up, DenisePizzini.com. And it's like to go from that mansion, the gaudiness, to the rooms, to the offices, and then like department stores. Like, you guys just built, and that tunnel.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys just built and built.
Well, we did a sewer, which was pretty extensive, and again, very specific about he has to sit in this chair and he's got to look out. And then, we matched, some of it with visual effects, and we had a tunnel between Gus's house and the safe house. So we built this, the two basements on stage and the tunnel, but then it perfectly matches each location, which the locations just happened to be across the street from each other. So we could, or we made it work so we could use those exteriors as well. So I was super pleased with that, because it's just kind of seamless when you watch the whole thing. We had a oil tanker, when Nacho is hiding inside the oil tanker. So we built this like 40-foot steel oil tanker that was filled at the bottom with that methacil, and then we had to be sure that the actor wasn't going to slip. And so we had to hide some handrails down there so he had something to hang on to. Oh, yeah. And then you have to accommodate for the camera. Like, how do you shoot inside a big tube? So,
how do you light it? I mean, I think that...
I mean that, because the top of the oil tanker has some openings. So, because we had a real oil tanker as the exterior, but inside that there's baffles, because you can't have liquid just like sloshing when you're, so there's baffles, but we couldn't have those baffles. So we built our own. And so we had a little corrosion and some of the things from the top that he could light through.
I must say, I think you had some really great painters.
Oh my God.
Because the ghost signs and like the aging, and
the painters were amazing. I mean, that first episode, there's so much that was, like that whole Saul Goodman bathroom and everything. That's all paint.
The marbles all paint. Oh my God.
And the Motel Ocotillo, all the, the aging and the layers and, the Mexican signage that's kind of peeling and everything. They were just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I love ghost signs. I love, like, when you just take a building and make it look like, 80 years old, but with just like the paint and the age and the thickness of it coming off. And it's fantastic. I didn't see this before. The room with the wood panel room with the deer stained glass. Is that a build?
The wood panel, yes. Well, it's a partial build. That's part of Germany.
Oh, I was going to say, where'd you find that location?
Yeah, well, that is the bar part is a location, which was inside like a Crown Royal Hotel or some thing like that, and then we built inside that location 3/4 of the of the rest of the set. So we could have an entrance and an exit and that deer glass and everything. And that's all based on our research of, a German bar. But we could use the front of the bar. So we kind of found that location. I took that and then we built the rest of the.
Oh my God. You built so much in that season. How did you have stages? Where were you building?
Yeah, we had 2 stages at which is now called Netflix Studios. And we had 2 stages, and the only set that we had standing from any previous episodes was Kim's apartment. So, there was a lot of things, that we had to like recreate the RV from Breaking Bad.
Right.
We had to recreate Saul Goodman's office. And Saul's office, actually they had that saved, but in Breaking Bad, that was just a swing set. So we went ahead and completed the set for Francesca's area. And then we also had to like kind of, we had to show what it looked like before it became Saul Goodman's office. So I had to take that basic footprint and we had to figure out what is it going to be. And we, the storyline is, well, Francesca, he says you can decorate it, you can do whatever. Sorry. Hey. So we had to kind of figure out what it was before it became like the kind of the sleazy Saul Goodman's office.
God, I mean, the amount that you for every episode, no wonder you were there 14 months.
We also had to do the exterior of Saul Goodman's office. So that location, they hadn't shot there in like 10 years or something like that. Oh so God. We went back to that same location and they had built a patio in the front of this location. And so, but the bar that was there was moving out. So the interior was actually empty, but to do that exterior, we had to, blast through, we had to remove their concrete patio, which they let us do. So we had to do that. And then we had to try to restore it back to what it looked like in Breaking Bad.
Wow.
But also we were lucky that it was empty because we had to also show Kim and Jimmy when they're looking for this space and they're looking in the windows, and that space had to go through several stages. So we had to do interior walls that looked like it was unfinished, real estate.
I think when I was talking with Ashley, we talked a lot about like the lighting and the practicals and how, in watching it really communicates a lot with the character. And like, especially with Saul and the shadows they use with him and everything. How was like the DP and like, was that?
They were great. Yeah. They were great. What I loved about our DPs is they really, a lot of DPs, they think it's their job to like pick a color or, something like that. Yeah. Both of them were super collaborative. I mean, they would ask for things. Can we get a lamp here? Can we make sure, or can these lights be fluorescent? And, I just need one here. Or can we do a window here? All the usual stuff. But they were super collaborative, and kind of like, I mean, they were great. They were really great.
I asked that too because of the pattern that you have on the windows in... Is that that's the mansion? That sort of deco pattern, which could hurt or hinder someone because then you're constantly putting patterns on people, which but also could really help. Like really.
I find that when those are like CNC screens. Yeah. And I find most good DPs love them and know how to use them. Yeah. So, and it just adds another layer, which we needed something like that. Yeah. Something graphic in there. And that's what his house was all about, a little bit over the top.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, the wallpapers.
Yeah.
The rugs, the curtains.
Yeah, we had some fun. Yeah, we made that rug.
The black and white one in the dining room?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. It's fantastic. I was like, oh, that's got to be a carpet. That's got to be a printed carpet.
Yeah, our painters made that rug. Our painters painted it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
We don't have Aztec in Albuquerque.
You don't.
But all, I think most of the wallpaper is probably from Aztec, and all that tiger and metallic.
And I love the staircase is fantastic. I mean, and then the wallpaper on there and the stained glass. I mean,
right, that's paint going up the stairs.
Oh, wow.
Well, at the bottom of the stairs it's wallpaper, but then going all the way up is paint.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous. How big were these sets? I mean, you have a pool.
Oh, well, that's a location. His house is a combination of stage and set.
Oh, the pool I see is but like his bathroom.
His bathroom's a set.
Yeah, his bathroom's a set, his closet.
Yeah, his closet is a set in a location. So and then the bedroom is a location, but we emptied it out and we built the bed in that place.
Oh, wow. It's seamless. It's so good. I just love all the gold. Like, it's so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, that episode, of course, that was my first episode. In that first episode, it's like, oh, we have...
That montage is ridiculous. The montage that goes on for like 10 minutes is ridiculous.
Well, you read that very first, and I was like, holy cow. How?
Yeah. Oh, whenever I see montage, I shit my pants.
Right. And then it goes to the Motel Ocotillo and all that happens there. And then it goes to the farmhouse, so we have this whole Mexican farmhouse. And then there was some other set too, but it was like so jam-packed. But we thought we were going to film the Mystery House at, in Better Call Saul, Kim and Saul go look at a house, and there's like a glass block shower and everything. So they thought, well, let's go back to that house, and that'll be the house that Saul bought after Kim's gone and when he's Saul Goodman in Breaking Bad. We could not make that house work. It just we tried. So that was one thing that really helped us, is they pushed off shooting, that episode, that montage beginning episode to a later date.
Oh yeah.
So there were a lot. I mean, it was tough because we were constantly scouting and shooting and building, and it just like the machine just never stopped.
And then because you were a decorator, you must have such like emotions of like, oh, that's gonna be decor there. Like, that's gonna be all dressing. Bummer for you. Well,
sometimes, it's funny because I even thought that I would be much more involved or, with the decorating, but I'm not. I just like the decorator to do their job, and, and I love to collaborate, of course, with the decorator, but, I kind of expect, what can you bring? I don't want to micromanage, and I have plenty to do without doing that. So, I'll come up with a basic plan, design, and a look, and then the decorator will follow through, with that. And, and I'm always open to like, well, if you have a better way, or if you have something. I think what being a decorator helps is I know when I have to build something, and I know when we can
make that happen. Yeah.
We can make, yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the most helpful thing, because I understand what what it takes to, go out and do what the decorators
That's always I find like the hardest things of like, oh, we have this location and we want it to be this. And it's sort of like, well, that location, even before I dress it, doesn't do anything, and it's just, if it's just decorating, right, it's just gonna look like a room decorated. It's not gonna be, it could be so much more. Like I can only do so much.
Right.
So when
I know that
when you have that collaboration, you have that knowledge of like, look, can you just like can they paint this, or can this have something to it? Like, I can't. It's just gonna. Right. I hate when I'm decorating and I look at it and I'm like, fuck, this looks like a set. Like, I can't. Like, this looks stupid. It doesn't. Yeah. It's flat or something. There's something. Yeah. That's not working, and that's just, it's timing, it's location, it's, we have to shoot it on this day, and this is all we have, or some bullshit. But I hate that.
Well, like, that department store we did, that was a location because we could, and I kept saying, do not find me a location for this, because we just cannot. But of course they did find a location, but it was empty. And it was like an old Sears, but we had to have, there's a couple of script pages, and it says exactly what this guy is supposed to do. He goes, 1 Armani, 2 this, and we had to kind of design it that follows that script. Yeah. So, and of course it's a Sears.
Yeah, it's like huge.
We can't.
You can't not huge, look that way. You're gonna look. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I had to figure out, we were shooting in black and white. So I had to figure out, okay, how can we make this look like something? How can we make these departments and then divide things up? And it was supposed to be upstairs without going upstairs. So we had to do a lot of stuff behind things. So we, that was a full-on, everybody hands-on set.
And graphics.
And the way it came out. Oh yeah, graphics. And a lot of the graphics were hiding, some of the, things. So you could look deep and not realize that it does end at some point. And then we had to put cameras in all these different areas so we could see it in our security room. That episode was so complicated. And just really, and everybody would say, our producer said, I thought the art department was just going to be broken. Just like, this is the one that breaks them, and it almost did. It truly almost did. We're working just, we had every graphic person printing and stuff in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. And then they were like, well, we're out of, this material, and we're out, it was, and then we had a couple of trucks from LA with fixtures and things that Ashley had to organize and get down there. And it was tough, but I thought it was great. And then we had, it was in a mall. So we had people like trying to come in.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I've had that. I love that.
Which is good.
Yeah. It's just an ultimate compliment. Yes, but, store's closed.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Now, here's the thing that I pick up on, too, is like, okay, we can create all this. And then they say, wow, this is really going to break them. Like, they don't say, you know what we should do? We probably should only have them go. Or maybe just so we can only see... it's always that, and we all pull it off, and we all do it. But the funny thing is, I've heard that more times than I would like to admit. Of like, it's really gonna be, you guys are really gonna be like hurting, or are you guys okay? Like, this one's really gonna break you, and we just do it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it is crazy. What can you do?
You can't.
Do your best.
It's either that, or you have to find a dress location, and then you have to rechange graphics in this, and you can't see that anyway, and or it's period. Like the impeachment, I did we did a mall, and then it's like, oh, but it's period. Oh, okay. So let's just get those 90s clothes back from the back, like. Right. So, yeah. But it's what we do.
I don't know. Yeah, because that set was so specific to the script. At now thinking back on it, it was like, I don't know how we would have found a location. It might have been worse,
Yeah. Well, you would have had to change everything around anyway, and
right.
Yeah. No, I know.
And it wouldn't have been a hard build because it was so huge, and you never really see kind of where it ends. So we could have built that, but the great thing about that is it connected to the dock that we were using, which was part of the story. So it all really kind of worked really well, but man, it was so much work.
Building that and the drop ceiling with the lighting and the flooring and everything, that would have taken forever.
Yeah, we put in most of the flooring.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because, I used carpet to kind of, create these sections.
Yeah.
So I used a bunch of, different carpet, and we put in the black and white flooring, and, it was a lot. We painted the columns, and then we put big graphics, mural type graphics on the walls, and then all the hanging graphics, and then all
the countertop with all the jewelry. It's endless.
I know. I know. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work.
How many ADG nominations and wins do you have?
I think, I have one win for the Muppets, 6 years ago. And I think I was nominated for Community twice, once as a decorator and once as a designer for the pillow and blanket episode, which is one of my favorites.
I didn't even watch Community, and I know so much about that episode. I feel like everyone who ever watched Community loves that episode, talks about it, and it's like iconic.
It's genius. It's done in Ken Burns style, and it's in two parts, but it's like done in like Ken Burns Civil War style. I just love it. I just think, and there was a lot there too. I mean, we, because there's fireproofing, and then how do you light an extensive pillow fort and blanket fort, and that was another, biggie. But it was all practical. There was no Donald Glover. I remember he had an interview, and he would say, "It's not computers, it's real."
Yeah, the lighting in that, I gotta say. That was, I mean, it had to be all, like, most of them they were flashlights and, like, lanterns, weren't they?
Well, but we created this system where you could take a top off, you could take a top off some things or take a side wall. So we did a pillow fort that actually had wild walls in it.
And so then they could take them off to light.
Yeah.
And was that episode script, like, did you have more days to build all that, because you had to build all that within your set, didn't you?
I mean, 30-minute comedy.
I know, but I
30-minute comedy. No, I don't know how we did it, because we took up half the school. We took up the whole school.
Yeah.
So then that means the next episode you got to tear it all down and restore your sets.
That's what I mean. Did you get any time for that? No.
I don't
hiatus week
recall that we ever got any time for anything on Community. I don't know how we did it. I think that season we just never had a day off.
No, I don't remember. I mean, I remember you being crazy. Yeah. But fun. See, you look back, you forget. It's like childbirth. You forget.
Yeah, exactly. I say that all the time, too.
Yeah. How did you get... Because you designed and then decorated and then designed, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And you started in Texas, right?
I started as an art director on commercials in San Antonio, where I'm from. And I was kind of the local art director, and different shows would come in, and then I would be like the location person. And then I hadn't done a movie, and then a movie came in, and the designer interviewed me, and he said, I think, I'd like to use you in the set deck department. So I said, okay. And I didn't really, I kind of knew, but like when I was art directing these commercials and stuff, I didn't have a set decorator. I did everything,
right.
Like you do in these smaller markets too. You do everything. So I started working with Dory Cooper, and I was basically but there was no such thing as the time as a buyer or assistant set decorator. I was just called a set dresser, but I was basically like assistant set decorator. And so I started working with it was Greg Fonseca was the designer, and Dory was the decorator. And so I started working with them. And I was also an interior designer. I would do these commercials, but I also had an interior design practice. And I did restaurants
Girl, you were hustling.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, when
you didn't have a day off back then either.
Right? No, I didn't. So I was working for one company that did, a chain of restaurants. So I was doing, I was kind of had a contract with that guy and was doing restaurants. And then I was doing these commercials and then different interior design projects. So I got the movie. I managed to do the restaurants and do the movie. And then after the movie was done, I think another movie came in, and it was Bob Kensinger, who was the decorator.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked with Bob and Jill, and as like their assistant or their buyer. But then Greg Fonseca had gotten Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and they called me and they said, we really need you in Mexico City, where they were shooting Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And I'm like, okay.
Wait a minute. They shot Honey, I Shrunk the Kids in Mexico City?
Yes. All that neighborhood and everything was all built, and all the stages were in Mexico City.
Why?
Studios Cherubusco. At that time, which was like 80-something, there were a lot of movies
probably
would shoot in Mexico. Yes. And I think there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie there and a Kevin Costner movie. It was just cheap, and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was non-union. So,
my mind is blown.
Really, yeah. Well,
why you would have to go all the way there?
Yeah, they built that whole neighborhood, or we built that whole neighborhood, and all those, all the grass and the sets and everything were all on stage.
Oh my God!
I was hired to be the on-set dresser.
Oh, wow!
Basically, it was an on-set art director. I had a crew of 11 people on my team on set, and they would be like, okay, Denise, we got to make this whole part of the stage look like a different part of the forest, and then I had to we threw glitter on the grass and little, spiky monofilament things for
like all the
ants chips and we shot that movie for we shot it for 6 months, and then when I did that was kind of like I closed my office and interior design. I thought, okay, I guess I'm done, and I was, but I still lived in Texas for another few years, and then eventually moved out here and worked with Dory and Greg on a couple more projects. And then I worked with Les Dilley on a few projects. And then Dennis Washington, who was, really, that's who I did 13 Days with.
13 Days, yeah. Such a great movie.
Yeah.
It's such a great movie.
Life is a House. We did Life is a House.
Oh, yeah.
So it was, so I had a very promising decorating career ahead of me. And often I think, wow, I'd be a big time decorator now if I had stuck with it. But I always kind of, I kind of have a design mind, and I kind of missed that.
Yeah.
And, I want to pick the colors. And a lot of designers, were super collaborative with me and stuff, but I just felt like it was time at some point to, because I kind of went back and forth. I designed a few movies, and I would go do a big movie. But, I don't think I'll be decorating anymore.
No.
So
I know. I think about that too, because I also have the interior design background. I think about spacing and everything. And it's completely different from real world to camera and everything. But I do think about that all the time of if only I could. Well, they probably wouldn't have approved my color anyway. I always think. But I think that design passion in there just wants to do more, and that's what designing is more. It's inclusive of the whole film. I mean, and the whole picture.
I actually too. I mean, I don't. A lot of people. I've worked with designers who have been my art directors and stuff. They're like, I don't want to sit through all those meetings.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk. And I don't mind that at all. I kind of to me, it's like problem solving, and I like solving problems with the DP and the director and the producers. So that to me does, it's part of the job. Unfortunately, it's a huge part of the job, being able to, and I like running a team.
Yeah.
I like, running an art department and, and set deck and props and stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I can't micromanage any of those people.
Yeah, it's too much.
If you want to do your job, if you have all that to do, then hire people who are going to do a good job and know how to listen and work well together and have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. If a designer who micromanages, I feel like, oh, you don't have enough to do or something, like, this is why you hire these people, is the trust and the ability, and everybody's just trying. I think you're just trying to get everybody on the same page so that we can go and run with it. It's too exhausting. Right. It's too exhausting to micromanage. And I don't think it
makes you any less of a designer if you're not, you go through and you pick and choose things and stuff, but I think, you just can't focus on every little detail if you want to do an overall good job.
And a lot of shows today you can't. There's just not enough time.
No.
There's not enough time to be putting glitter on the glass blades. I think about that. I love that. Oh my God, that ant. I mean, that ant had glitter on him. They made it into a whole ride.
Yeah, the ant was a puppet, and it was run by a family of puppeteers that they were all doing the arms and stuff like that, and it was quite a learning experience. I mean, for my first real movie job, and and then I was hooked. I was like, yeah, this is great, and I'm still friends with most of those Honey, I Shrunk the Kids people.
They were gonna do Shrunk, and it was I think it was Jim Bissell. I think was doing it. I think, but then they got shut down or something, and they're not going through with it. I was like, I would. Yeah. No, I don't think it was Jim Bissell. No, I forget who it was. But I don't know. That would have been good because such a great movie. Now, the new Muppets isn't out yet, right?
Right. That comes out in May, and that is about just the band, the Electric Mayhem, and they're supposed to be recording an album, or they were paid to record an album, and they never did. So they're trying to give the record company an album they owed them.
Oh my God, the boys love Animal, so I can't wait for them to see it. When you worked on the Muppets before, as you said, you won the ADG award for. And then I was looking again at your photos because designing for the Muppets is spectacular and colorful and everything. But logistically, for the puppeteers and everything, I mean, it's a whole nother job. It's a whole nother element.
It is. And, it takes a minute to understand how this has to work, because everything has to be divisible by 2 or 4. Because you have to remove big portions of the set, and the sets are anywhere from 3 to, I think this last one we were all at, we decided we would be at 36 inches high off the ground.
Right.
But sometimes we had to do 42, because if we had a backing and the thing isn't, and the set is 36 inches off the ground, you can see the floor where the backing is. So we have a whole thing underneath where the puppeteers are, and their monitors, and and sound is under there. I mean, it's very complicated.
Yeah, you have a great photo on your site on the Muppets, and you can see the crew in the little pit below. It looks probably like a 3-foot.
Right, and dressing those sets, because you want to start for efficiency, you want to kind of start with part of the floor out, because it takes so long to okay, now we're going to shoot here, so let's take away all this set dressing and move the floor out. So it's really hard for the decorator, because you kind of never see a finished set.
Right. Well, listen, I'm dressing in wet paint, and there's no lights on half the time, so I don't. But I would for me it's also you have to lift everything up. You got ramps. I'm sure you got a ramp, but
you're on the platform. You don't really have to lift everything up, because yes you do, because when there's no floor, and then we the talk about another grip. Really, these grips are very special. They're not just moving around lights and stuff. They're like lifting stuff. So as Jan said, dresser, but yes, like if the floor is gone, we have these boxes that you can set the piece on. But a lot of what we have too is you have a lot of just chair backs, or you have a lot of chairs with no seat, so the puppet can go through the seat, or you have half tables, and it's a lot. And like if you have a counter, we have to cut out a big chunk so the puppeteer can get in there and get as close to the counter as possible.
This was Don Deers was the decorator on that?
For part of it.
Because I think I remember running into him at Wirtz Brothers, and he's like, I'm looking for a chair that's only this high and like has no back, and I was like, cool. Is it for Kermit?
Yeah, he did I think the first 5 episodes, and Jay Madden did the last 5.
Oh no, that's Mayhem, right?
Mayhem. Oh yeah,
the other Muppets.
Yes, Don Deers did the whole thing.
Yeah, a long time. Yeah, it wasn't that long, but yeah, that I remember. I should have said I ran into him a long time ago, and remember him like frantically looking for smaller furniture.
Yeah, that first Muppets show was it was supposed to be like a late night show. So a lot of stuff was like a television stage. And then we had all these swing sets. This next show was quite different because there were lots of locations that we had, to figure out how to make that work. And then also it was more character based sets, like this Laurel Canyon house and things like that. So it was a little bit different, this last one.
And are there palettes that they don't want you to use because of the Muppet coloring or anything? Or is it not really? No.
And what I try to do is I try to make, you don't want it cutesy, so I try to make it just as authentic and real as possible. So the only cute thing in the set are the Muppets.
Yeah.
So there's not a big lime green something, or bright red. So I try to keep the tone authentic.
I just remember watching like the Muppet movie when I was little, and it is, because it's the 70s and everything, it's so gritty or like hippie, but real, like you're saying, like Muppets were just always living in our world.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And then I'm sure it's going to be hysterical. Is it for Disney?
Disney Plus.
Disney owns it, yeah. I love Jane Madden. She was my buyer on Impeachment. I love her. I think
she's great. She did such a good job. She was kind of thrown into like a giant set, her first set.
She can do it.
But she did a great job.
Yeah.
And and like we did like the Electric Mayhem bus, it's a work of art. I said you guys have to keep this. This is like the best bus in the history of Muppet history. I can't wait for people to see it. It is a work of art. It's beautiful.
Is it just a one-off, or is it like, they might do more?
They might do another season, I've heard, but I don't know. You never know.
Yeah.
Until I'm sure they would like to.
Yeah. I mean, it always seems like, oh my God, that seems like such a fun job. And then you're like, it is, but then I gotta do all the flooring, and then I gotta find small
It was
furniture.
hard. This one, I have to say, was a lot harder than the Mayhem was a lot harder than the first one. I don't know what it was.
So you're gonna be hopefully off to new projects, and hopefully I will see you at the ADG Awards.
Yes,
and
you should go.
And number 2, I mean, you got a good chance, I think, with that category. I think you got a good.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah. I mean, we. Like I said, it's so hard when you choose 2 episodes because, it's kind of the whole show. I don't know why they do that 2 episode thing, because does the whole show have a look?
Yeah. Well, don't you think people vote on? I mean, if somebody watches the show, and they are looking at nominates, they're not going to go, oh, and what up? Oh, well, I didn't like that episode. Do you know what I mean? I think people, if you know the show and you know the design of it, and you're voting, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I really like the look of that.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, and I just hope that people, I really think that I gave this season a different look.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, because it is a 6th season, and nobody wants to do 6.
No, I mean, 4th. I just did a 4th season, but it's all new sets.
Yeah.
It's a whole new show. Yeah.
Saul.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how much that, and then we had to, dig up all the old stuff too.
And recreate. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's part of the job.
Yeah.
That's not just nothing.
No, it's not. Those sets aren't just waiting for you.
I know.
That alarm clock isn't in the prop house anymore.
Exactly. And I just did a Super Bowl commercial where we recreated the Breaking Bad van again.
Oh.
The RV. So that'll be out. But whenever, I don't know when the Super Bowl is, but
it's the 12th, isn't it, or 13th or something? But that's fun.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Oh, good.
So, yes.
I'm gonna cut it off. Isn't she just fantastic? She's such a good person. We have had many good times together. A lot of drinks, a lot of good dinners, a lot of drinks, and I got to work with her. I didn't even talk about it. I got to work with her on reshoots of a was it a Luke Wilson or the other Wilson movie? And it was great. It was only for like 2 weeks, and that's all I got to do with her. But I hope I do get to work with her in the future. That would be awesome. Good luck to Denise and everyone. Again, ADG voting opens on Wednesday. I think you have like 2 or 3 weeks if you are a voter. So get to it. And you can see all of her gorgeous work on denisepizzini.com. What else? Upcoming. I know, I don't like to say who's upcoming, so I'm not going to say it, but you'll listen. You'll be fine. Again, reach out on anything you want. Kim Wanup at decoratingpagespodcast.com. Go to the website, decoratingpagespodcast.com. And Instagram and TikTok. And I'm kind of giving up on Twitter. I'm not going to lie. Oh, there's the dog. So, yeah. Oh, the puppy wanted to make an appearance. At least he didn't bark. That was her dog barking, by the way. That wasn't the puppy. So, there you have it. I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages. Take a look at the Decorating Pages shop on Etsy for items such as bags, totes, cups, mugs, shirts, and the Stogie Floaty. Available on Etsy.com.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Clear communication is key to a successful renovation. Keep the customer informed at every stage of the project, addressing any concerns or questions promptly to maintain trust and satisfaction. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mape, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.